it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time?
Administration and the back channels and the communications that are being given out right now are saying, shut up! Stop talking about it. And one of those people who responded to this message and told everyone about it was, of course, Charlie Kirk here.
Yes, Mr. President, we are still asking about the Jeffrey Epstein files, and not because it is a broken campaign promise that you made. We're asking for those files for a laundry list of legitimate reasons. Why are we asking for the Jeffrey Epstein files? Because people in your administration have flip-flopped on the existence. Patel, Bondi, Bongino. Why? Because Pam Bondi has stated that there were thousands of hours of videos. Now, she got nothing. Why? Because the GOP just voted against releasing the Epstein files. Why? Because court documents have shed light on Jeffrey Epstein's network, identifying over 200 people, including victims, associates, and witnesses. Why? Because Sarah Ransom, Shantae Davis, Courtney Wild, Jenna Lisa Jones, and Juliet Bryant are not liars. Why? Because the lives of Virginia Giuffre, Carolyn Andriano, and Lee Sky Patricks actually mattered. Why? Because alternative media figures are stating that they are being contacted by people in government and told to shut up about the story. Why? Because for over 30 years, people have either died or had their lives nearly destroyed because of those files. Why? Because in 1996, two sisters became victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and their lives were nearly destroyed. Today, we are going to explore the story of Maria and Annie Farmer.
Times it's very hard to find the truth here, since there's a big obfuscation effort, and now people being threatened to be cut off, and multiple. I'm facing criticism from some very powerful people too. I'll give you a little hint of what's going on in this video, and a lot more. I can't say much, but I'll say as much as I can here from all the information and insight that I am getting.
Says the people that are interested in the Jeffrey Epstein inquiry are bad people. He said only bad people and fake news are interested in the Jeffrey Epstein inquiry. I guess that puts me in the category of bad people, my friend.
Well, Mr. President, if only bad people want to keep talking about the Jeffrey Epstein files, then I am very proud to be in the company of some amazing bad people. Hello, beautiful creatures of my world. Welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It is a hazy, hot, and humid day in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border. We've got a little bit of the smoke coming down today from the Canadian forest fires. It was much worse yesterday, but today is just, we're going to be up in the 90s. Absolutely really weird weather. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you might be. I hope you're having a day filled with fabulosity and dang good coffee, because we're both going to need dang good coffee to get through today's story. Today I'm taking you back to 1995, and I'm going to tell you a bit about Maria and Annie Farmer. They were among one of the first victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Maria Farmer was 25 years old. She was an up-and-coming artist. She had just earned her master's degree at the New York Academy of Art. Shortly after her graduation, Maria was introduced into the Epstein circle at her thesis show in 1995 by none other than Eileen Guggenheim. At that time, Eileen Guggenheim was the dean of the New York Academy of Art. Jeffrey Epstein was a former board member. He was a board member of the New York Academy of Art School from 1987 to 1994. He was often seen at the school. He was often seen walking around. He was often seen watching the students as they worked. And he was often at any function that was presented by the school or students from the school. Now, at this thesis show, Maria Farmer actually sold Jeffrey Epstein one of her paintings. Epstein then offered to further Maria's career, and shortly after the show, Eileen Guggenheim brought Maria to Epstein's New Mexico ranch, allegedly. It's allegedly because in all the documentation, Eileen does not remember this particular visit. Shortly after the trip to Epstein's New Mexico ranch, Maria is hired by Epstein in his Manhattan mansion. Initially, she was an art advisor. She was responsible for acquiring artwork for his private collection. She also managed the front desk. She signed in guests and observed young girls at the house. Everything was going pretty good for Maria at this point. But then in 1996, in January, Maria's young sister Annie came to visit her in New York. On this visit, Maria introduced Annie to Jeffrey Epstein. By this time, Maria was no longer working the front desk. She was no longer procuring Epstein's art collection. She was actually working as a fine arts painter for Jeffrey Epstein. So it's during Annie's visit in New York that it seems that Jeffrey Epstein was taken by this 16-year-old girl, and he decided that he wanted to support her education. At this time, Annie is a junior in high school. She's getting ready to explore colleges. In the spring of 1996, Epstein buys Annie a plane ticket to New Mexico, to his New Mexico home, and this is where an assault takes place. It's going to be a few months before Maria is then assaulted by Maxwell and Epstein. We don't know why Maria did not know about Annie's assault sooner, but Maria continued to work for Jeffrey Epstein. And in the summer of 1996, while they were at the Ohio estate of Les Wexner, Maria is allegedly assaulted by Epstien and Maxwell, Maria calls her father to pick her up and bring her back to Kentucky. So her father drove all the way from Paducah, Kentucky to Ohio to get his daughter. So now, later in the summer of 1996, the girls are safe. They are out of the grasp of Epstein, and they decide that they are going to report their trauma to the New York Police Department. It was a nothing to see here moment, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of my world. The police took the report. Nothing went anywhere. After an amount of time, Maria decided she was going to contact the FBI. She wanted to give the FBI her firsthand eyewitness account of the young women that were all over Jeffrey Epstein's houses. She knew there were young women, there were girls there were men there. It was all at Epstein's home. She didn't know what happened, but she knew that there were comings and goings of people that probably shouldn't have been there. And the FBI decided to do nothing. Nothing to see here, folks. This is getting all too familiar, isn't it? After the New York Police Department wouldn't do anything, after it seemed that the FBI wouldn't do anything, Maria, Annie, and their mother took their story to a national magazine. They sat down, they gave an interview, they told the story of their trauma perpetrated by Epstein and Maxwell. That story never saw the light of day. It was almost as if the stories, the police reports, were just evaporating into thin air. Maria decided that she was going to go back to the world of art, and that's when the threats of destroying her career started to happen. If she kept talking, there would be consequences. After those threats came in, Maria Farmer abandoned her art career for a time. This is why questions have to be asked. This is why when people don't want you poking around into certain affairs, that you might have to poke the bear with a stick. Since 1996, young women have been trying to tell their stories of trauma. It's almost 30 years. At the hands of Epstein and Maxwell. All for those stories to go nowhere. All for those stories for authorities to dismiss. It's an absolute shame. And this is why alternative media needs to stay on getting the Jeffrey Epstein list. Now, Annie and Maria, they went on to have a life. The trauma didn't cripple them. They went on to be very productive women. Annie would graduate high school. She would go to college. She would get her PhD and become a psychiatrist. She lives a very private life. She has a wonderful life. Maria unfortunately was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 17 or 2019. It was in 2020 that she did a series, or was working on a series of paintings to reveal the evil of Jeffrey Epstein. Maria does have a career as an artist. Maria is speaking out now, once again, concerning her Epstein trauma. And this is why, Mr. President, 30 years later, women are telling their story about trauma and abuse at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. And this is why you need to release that list. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of my world, be the kindness that you want to see in the world. And as always, Carpe Diem, because no one promises us a tomorrow.